The boy in the yellow raincoat follows me home. It started on a Tuesday, a gray Tuesday, the kind that makes everything feel like it's been wrung out and hung to dry. Rain clung to the streets in sheets, and the clouds hung so low they looked like they'd collapse at any moment. I had stayed late at work again, and by the time I stepped off the bus, it was already dark. The kind of dark where the street lamps barely help, and every shadow seems a little too deep. I didn't notice him at first. The sound of the rain filled my ears, and I was focused on not stepping into the deeper puddles as I made my way down Ash Grove Lane, the shortcut to my apartment. But halfway down, I saw him, a boy, maybe 8, standing beneath a flickering street lamp. He was wearing a yellow raincoat, bright against the gray world. But the odd thing was, he wasn't moving, just standing there, staring at me. His face was shadowed beneath the oversized hood, and his hands hung unnaturally straight at his sides. I slowed down instinctively. Maybe he was lost. Maybe his parents were close by. But then he took a step forward. I stopped. He stopped. I took another step. He did the same. There was no one else on the street. No sound but the soft patter of rain and the distant hum of the city. My skin prickled. I turned around, pretending to tie my shoe, just to check. He stood there, still as stone. I walked faster. So did he. Not running. Just matching me. Deliberate. Silent. When I reached the corner of my block, I darted into the alley behind the bakery and waited, heart hammering in my chest. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Maybe he was just a kid walking home the same way. Maybe I was just tired, overworked, and jumpy. After a few minutes, I peeked out. He was gone. I let out a shaky laugh. It was nothing, just a weird moment. I got home, locked the door, and turned on every light in the apartment. Then I glanced out the living room window and froze. He was standing across the street, still, dripping, staring straight at my window, and he didn't move all night. By morning, he was gone. I pressed my forehead to the window, half expecting him to still be there, frozen in place like a mannequin. But the sidewalk was empty, slick with fresh rain that hadn't stopped all night. The strange thing was the sky above was clear now, blue as glass, and not a cloud in sight. Yet the street still shimmered wet, as if it had never stopped raining, just for me. I tried to brush it off, told myself I imagined the whole thing. Maybe the raincoat boy had been some kid from a neighboring apartment, or a lost child who found his way home. But that night, as I took out the trash, I heard the squelch of small footsteps behind me. I turned. Nothing. Only the narrow hallway of the apartment complex and the yellow glow of the emergency light above the stairwell. I stood there, trash bag still in hand, scanning the shadows. The air felt heavy, like something was pressing down on the building. When I came back inside, there were small, wet footprints on the tile in my entryway. Child-sized, leading into the hallway. I didn't own any shoes that small. I lived alone. I always had. The door had been locked, deadbolt even. I followed the prints slowly, heart pounding, phone in one hand, half prepared to call the police. The trail led down the hallway, right up to the door of the spare room. A room I hadn't used in months. The knob was wet. I reached out, touched it, and jerked my hand back. It was freezing, as if someone had been holding it from the other side. I opened the door. The room was empty. No child. No raincoat. But the window was cracked open, and on the floor beneath it, a puddle. I cleaned the prints, locked the window, double-checked the doors. I didn't sleep. Just sat on the couch, lights on, waiting for something else to happen. It didn't take long. At 2:17 a.m., the apartment filled with the soft sound of dripping water. But every faucet was dry. And then, something knocked. 3 soft knocks. From inside the hallway closet. Not from the outside. From inside the apartment. I didn't move. The knock came again, 3 slow taps, like small knuckles brushing wood. My breath caught in my throat. I stared at the hallway closet, its white doors slightly ajar, just enough for the darkness to peek through like a watching eye. I should have called someone. The police. A friend. Anyone. Instead, I picked up the umbrella by the door, the only thing close enough to hold like a weapon, and crept forward. The floor creaked beneath my bare feet. The air grew damp, thicker with every step, like I was wading into something dense and unseen. My fingers trembled as I reached for the closet handle. The knocking had stopped, but I could still hear something. Breathing. Shallow. Quick. Like a child trying not to be heard. I yanked the door open. Empty. Just coats, my vacuum cleaner, a broken umbrella from last fall. Nothing else. But then I looked down. A small, waterlogged drawing lay on the floor. Crayon on soggy paper. It showed a stick figure with a yellow coat, standing under black clouds. And next to him, a taller figure in red. That was me. I recognized the shape of the apartment building drawn behind us. 3 crooked windows and a door with the number 204 scrawled on it. My apartment number. At the bottom, written in shaky, childlike handwriting. Don't forget me again. I stared at it until the ink bled into my fingers. Something about the handwriting, it pulled at something in my brain, like a memory I'd buried too deep. I tried to shake it off. I threw the drawing in the trash, slammed the closet door, and spent the rest of the night trying to convince myself I was losing my mind. But the next day, he followed me to work. Not right behind me. He was cleverer than that. I spotted him across the street from the coffee shop, then again outside the parking garage, standing behind a tree, only half visible. He never moved. He just stood there. Every time I turned, every time I blinked, he was closer. Like the rain itself had taken shape and refused to let go of me. And by the time I got home that evening, there was another drawing, pinned to my front door with a rusted nail. This time, the taller figure was lying down. Face down, red crayon scribbled everywhere. I stared at the drawing for a long time. It was crude, childlike, but there was something deliberate in the way the red crayon was smeared over the taller figure. Over me, the boy in the yellow coat stood nearby, watching. Always watching. I tore the paper down and crumpled it, but the image wouldn't leave my mind. The details were too precise. The shape of my glasses, the scar on my wrist, the number on my apartment door. This wasn't just a haunting. This was personal. I sat on the floor of my living room, heart racing, and opened an old shoebox of photos I hadn't touched in years. Buried beneath graduation pictures and crumpled report cards, I found one that made my blood run cold. A birthday party. My 8th. Balloons, paper hats, cake smudged on grinning faces. And beside me, smiling, arms wrapped tightly around his knees, was a boy in a yellow raincoat. Jamie, my cousin. He used to follow me everywhere. We were inseparable that summer. Until the accident. We were playing near the reservoir after a storm. The rain hadn't let up for days. Everything was slick and swollen. I told him not to climb the rocks, but he wanted to prove he could. One moment he was laughing, and the next he slipped. I screamed, reached for him. I almost had him, but I let go, and he vanished into the churning black water below. The search went on for days. They never found his body, and eventually we stopped talking about him. Everyone just moved on. But I didn't forget. Not really, and neither did he. I looked out the window again. He was standing closer now, just across the street, beneath the same flickering street lamp. But now I could see his face. Pale, bloated, lips blue with cold, eyes full of something hollow, something that hadn't belonged to a child in a long, long time. And when he raised his hand, I saw the thing that broke me. He was holding a photo, a water-stained picture of us together, from that birthday, and scrawled across the bottom, in the same dripping crayon as before. Come play with me. Then he smiled, and all the lights in my apartment went out. Darkness swallowed the apartment, not the kind you get during a power outage. This was thicker, almost alive, the kind that hums behind your ears and makes the air feel colder than it should be. I stumbled through the living room, hands outstretched, heart hammering. My phone was dead. The lights wouldn't flicker back on. Outside, the boy was gone. But I knew better. He was inside now. Water began to pool under my feet. Cold, slick, and endless, like it was rising from the floor itself. I turned toward the hallway and saw him, standing at the end of it, dripping, his yellow coat now slick with filth, his face half-shadowed, half-rotted. He took a step forward, then another. My back hit the wall. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I didn't mean to, I whispered. Jamie, I didn't mean to let go. He stopped. For a moment, something flickered across his face. Sadness, recognition, pain. Then the lights flickered just once. And behind him, The hallway was no longer part of my apartment. It was the reservoir, the rocks, the place I hadn't seen since that awful day. The hallway stretched impossibly long now. Water rushed down its length, carrying the scent of algae and childhood memories long buried. And from somewhere deep in that flood, I heard voices. Laughter, screaming, singing, children's voices. Jamie turned, and I saw them. Other figures in the water. Small, blurred, children in torn coats and faded faces. All watching, waiting. He reached out a hand. "Come play," he said softly. "This time, don't let go." And I almost did. I took one step forward before I caught sight of myself in the mirror near the front door. My face gaunt, my eyes sunken, like I'd already been halfway drowned. "No," I said. "I'm sorry, Jamie, but I can't follow you." The mirror cracked. The hallway slammed shut, and he was gone. The lights came back on. The water dried instantly. The apartment looked normal, quiet, but I know the rain never really stops now. Sometimes I still see footprints. Sometimes I still hear dripping. And sometimes in dreams, I feel a small cold hand grab mine again. He isn't gone. He's just waiting for me to forget.